Welcome to the Secrets of Animal Magic. I'm Lance Burton, and we're going to take a journey through the world of animal magic. So watch closely, and we'll let you in on some of the secrets in our bag of tricks. And there are a lot of them. We'll go behind the scenes and open the door to tricks, to training, to the principles behind the magic, and to the talented magicians and their animals who make it all come alive. Along the way, you'll meet Joseph Gabriel and his talented parrots, the great Tom Sony, a personal hero of mine and a master of dove work, Steve and Maria August, who never met a reptile they didn't like, and Rick Thomas, the man who tames tigers. Of course, you'll see me work too, and you'll get to meet my special guest, Jim Steinmeier, one of the best-kept secrets in magic. Jim literally designs the illusions that magicians like me use on stage. Together, we're going to share as much as we can without jeopardizing the magician's code. Hey, look, I don't want to get into trouble, but I'll try to take you right up to that line and help you unravel more of the secrets of animal magic for yourself.
Knowledge TV Retro, brought to you by Jones International University, the first fully online accredited university. Change your life for the better on your schedule. 8-week classes begin next month. Visit jiu.edu to find out more.
Like most people, you probably watch magic shows from down here. But today, we're going to go on stage and behind the curtain into the secret world of animal magic. Animal magicians have come a long way from the days of old. Let's review what you may have seen, 100 years ago. The magician walks out on stage, and in his hand, he's carrying a top hat and a magic wand. He takes the wand, he makes a few magical passes over the hat. He may have even said a couple of magic words like abracadabra or hocus pocus. And voila, a live rabbit pops out of the hat. Today, there are no limits as to what animals may show up in an illusion, as you will see. But before we go any further, my buddy Jim will pull some principles of magic out of his hat. In other words, the tricks behind the tricks.
There are optical principles in which something looks like something it isn't. There are mechanical principles which might involve a device or a trap door or a secret compartment. And then there are psychological principles, and in everything that magicians do, there's a psychology going on.
Psychology, physics, but it's a lot more fun to call it magic. And for me, it all starts here. This is where I work. I do 2 shows a night, 5 days a week, at the Lance Burton Theater here at the Monte Carlo Hotel in Las Vegas. I appear, disappear. Up here, folks, on the chandelier! And reappear. You get the picture. But I'm not the only one who disappears. Check this out. This is what's going to happen. I'm going to send you back in time 2 weeks.
What you have to watch when you watch magic is the strength of the performer and how he's able to make you complicit in the deception.
You were back home in Kentucky. This one really raises animal magic to a new level. It's working. I set the controls for 2 weeks. Extend the antenna. Aim it up at the box. Keep your fingers crossed, folks. I have to get Stinky off my sofa. Here we go. Magic with animals has always been popular with audiences. I guess because it's not a magic prop, not a static prop. They're alive. Oh, I've made a terrible mistake. I set the controls wrong. I didn't send them back in time 2 weeks. I sent them back in time 2 minutes, which means...
Where? Uncle Lance, over
Kids! And people have an affinity for animals. I mean, people love animals. Children love to see animals. When you're doing magic with something alive, it makes the magic so much more exciting. When I started working with animals, I was 14 years old, and I got 2 doves. Now it's completely out of control. I've worked with a horse. I've worked with a herd of elephants. Jim said, okay, how's this for a trick? We're going to make a herd of elephants disappear. And all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, that's great idea, let's do it. And then all of a sudden I go, wait a minute, a herd of elephants, that's going to be really hard. There are 2 things to keep in mind. Number 1, in no way are the elephants harmed. Number 2, this camera does not cut away.
It didn't use trick photography. It was done with all of the principles that a magician uses on stage.
Now here's something the elephants will never forget. When you're using an animal, what you have to do is you have to design the illusion around the animal. You have to build the illusion around the animal, because that's the one element in the trick that is not going to change. Of course, I have to say, my life has changed a lot over the last few years, and things have changed for my animals too. When I started my career, I would do a show and then take the birds home with me every night. But now that we're in a permanent facility, the animals all stay here at work, here at the theater, except of course for Monty, who, well, you know, he's not in the show, he's just my pal. But a game I play with Monty, and you probably play with your own dog, is a good way to show one principle of magic: misdirection. I'm going to try and show you a little bit how magic works. Now, of course, Monty's attention right now is on this ball. Ready, Monty? Go get the ball. Go get it. And what we do is we set up a pattern with Monty with the ball so that he gets that pattern in his mind. Ready, Monty? Go get it, buddy. And then we'll break the pattern here. Ready? 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 All right, ready? Go get him. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Go get the ball. Where is it, Monty? Where'd it go? See, now Monty just saw a magic trick. There it is, Monty. Go get it. Go get it. And now the ball reappears. That's basically how magic works. Now that you've met Monty, let me introduce you to another friend of mine.
This is Elvis, ladies and gentlemen.
Come on, I'll show you where Elvis lives. This is our little bird aviary. That's the first bird I produced in the show. This one's been with me a long time, maybe 15 years. This is the parakeets over here. That's Elvis. They're Elvis impersonators. The impersonators fill in for Elvis on the nights he's not up to performing. The doves also have stand-ins. Now, if I see if one of my birds is ready to lay an egg, what I do is I take him out of the show that night because I have understudies to go into that spot. That's something you learn through experience and trial and error. Because I remember one night I was doing a show and the bird flew into the audience, landed in a lady's lap, laid an egg in her lap, and then flew back onto the stage. This is Tommy Lang. He's in charge of all the animals in the show. And these are some of our ducks that we use in the show.
Bird Wrangler, I prefer.
Yes, Tom. His official title is Bird Wrangler.
I just wish you'd stop making so many appear every night.
Yes, well, we need more animals in the show, Tom.
The geese de resistance.
The goose. Now, that's the only animal in my show that I'm sort of concerned about when it comes to the safety of the audience. The goose will actually bite you. I mean, it won't hurt, but he got me a couple times. It makes a little red welt on your arm. It's not really dangerous, but it's not a pleasant experience. He's following the camera. That's great. Wait, Hansel, go back down that way now. Hansel. Well, that's what you get when you work with animals. Sometimes they're unpredictable, but if you watch them closely, you can learn a lot. You might discover a tendency that the animal has, and you can use that in the show.
March 2, 3, 4, March 2, 3.
Watch this illusion and see if you can figure out what natural behavior of the ducks is at work here.
Notice how the audience is all watching the ducks. That's called misdirection. Bonjour. Bonsoir. Bon voyage. John Bon Jovi. Bon appetit, everyone. Bon appetit. Ready? March 2, 3, 4. March 2, 3, 4. March 2, 3. Company homes.
Now, the ducks are very social animals. If you ever see baby ducks with their mother will be walking along, and the baby ducks will be walking right in line behind her. And so it's a natural tendency that the animal has. But the audience sees that. They give the magician credit. They say, isn't that clever how that magician trained those animals to line up in a row and walk right off stage? Ladies and gentlemen, sawing a horse in half. Safety is one of the main concerns in working with animals. When you're building a prop, that's the first thing you have to keep in mind. Is it going to be safe for the animal? Is the animal going to be comfortable? Can the animal breathe? How long does the animal have to be loaded into the apparatus before the show? And we try to make everything as short as possible. Comedy has always been a big part of magic, and we certainly horse around plenty when we do that trick. And he is perfectly fine. Well, it's basically the same working with animals as working with people, except animals can't speak to you, so you have to think for them. I think the main secret to working with animals is patience and observation. You have to have a lot of patience, first and foremost, and you have to be gentle with the animal so that they trust you. And you can learn a lot by observing the animal. Just ask my assistant, Stephanie. She changes into a duck every night.
A jacket, a girl, and a duck. Everybody, clap along. Come on, Stephanie, you 2, 3, 4.
Don't disappear. Up next, the astonishing Joseph Gabriel shows you how one of his illusions works. Joseph Gabriel first hit the magic world with a really fast, dynamic dove act that made everyone sit up and take notice. And he has continued to present really dramatic, innovative effects. We insiders call him the Birdman. And since he and his parrots burst onto the entertainment scene, they've appeared on The Tonight Show, on Broadway, at the White House, and now in Las Vegas.
This is Abra. Now, Abra's a 4-year-old cockatoo, and with the proper care, she'll live to be 100 years old.
Ah, animals. The unexpected always gets a laugh.
If I let her. I don't consider these, the birds I use in my show, props. They're my pets. I call them my feathered kids. This is Angel. She's about 3-month-old umbrella cockatoo. And I have some formula. She gets tube fed since she's just a baby. The whole thing is to get them so that they imprint on a person. So they think you're mom and dad. So essentially, I become Mr. Mom. It's okay.
Like all pets, our feathered friends must endure that dreaded visit to the vet. Keeping animals healthy is an important part of the day-to-day routine in magic.
Hello there. Where do I go? Right there.
Hey, Joe.
Hello there, Dom. How are you? Good to see you. This is Jasmine.
Hey,
Hey,
Jasmine.
little girl. Hey, little girl. Step
Go
up.
sit her down.
She got full flight.
Okay.
And she loves to use her wings, so don't let her crack you in the head.
Baby. Here's your check and make sure their eyes are clear and bright. Nose is nice and clear, straight beak. Quality of feathers. See, she got really good feather quality. Hey.
Jasmine. Here, why don't you stay over here?
Joseph Gabriel buys only domestically bred parrots and keeps them as pampered pets. But their wild cousins often have a much harder time of it. There are more than 340 species of parrots, and many of them are now threatened with extinction because of illegal importation and loss of habitat.
The native habitat of macaws is South America, Brazil. They're jungle animals, you know, rainforest creatures. That's why it's important to keep our rainforests going, because we have beautiful animals like this that live in them.
In turn, the audience sees how beautiful these animals are and want to learn more about them. And that heightened awareness in the long run can really help the species.
Jasmine. Good girl. Good girl.
Jasmine makes the training look easy, but not every student learns at the same rate.
Hey, come on. Come on. I know. Come on. This is the process. I do this for hours. For weeks even. Until she does something appropriate. Angel. Angel. Hey, you.
What you're about to see is one of the true secrets of animal magic. The trust between a human performer and his avian assistant.
Here's the routine. It was triple somersault, so she goes over and flips on her back. What I also want to do is have her pick up and look at the audience, which she then does, and turns her head towards you. Now, that simple routine were a series of things she learned when she was a baby. She naturally flipped over on her back with no problem as a baby. She liked bobbing her head up and down, and tossing her up in the air was a couple of months' work for her to get comfortable with being okay and secure with me doing that, since that is not a natural thing for a bird. And then it came to, you know, whatever height. But she is completely confident to know that I'll catch her.
Now, I don't know who came up with the phrase bird brain, but it's not true. Scientists say parrots are as smart as porpoises or even human toddlers. That's another reason magicians love to use them in their acts. Just one more secret of animal magic.
Hi, Abra. Abra is a person in a bird suit. Whatever. I know, it's very funny. I know. She's incredibly smart, loves to be around people. Abra loves attention. When she doesn't get it, she will do every cute thing she knows how to do in order to get petted and get attention.
In Gabriel's act, Abra flies around the room and returns to his hand. But one afternoon, she decided to stage a trick of her own. Instead of circling the room once, she circled 56 times. Maybe she was hoping to build up some frequent flyer miles.
It was the three of hearts. Give Abra a nice round of applause. Oh, wait a minute. Magic, magic. And Abra's gone.
I think mechanical principles are what people think of as the cliches in magic. You know, that there's a secret compartment, that there's a trap door.
I promised the folks at Animal Planet that I was going to show them how a trick was done. Would you like to see how this is done? Yes. Yes. Well, the first part, the card trick, is very simple. Abra is a psychic. The second part, you see it is a very nicely draped table and has fringe. But see, the fringe is not really fringe. The fringe is covering a glass box. And you see Abra is hiding down here. Hi, little one. Come on, come on. So what happens is, when I go to put Abra inside the box, I don't put her in the box at all. I place her through the box into the trap door. So I'll show you how it looks again, if you would. Thank you. What we usually do, this is open, the trap door below is open, and I put Abra right inside. So when I go magic, magic, and throw the box empty, that's how it looks. And unless you're a real magician. And you take this off. And... Come on, little one. It's Jasmine, everyone.
Sure, just like a magician. We say we're going to tell you how it's done, but then we trick you again. Joseph Gabriel won't disclose how all of his tricks are done, but he will let you in on the secret at the heart of every good animal act.
I believe the secret of animals and magic is the relationship you have to the animal. Every once in a while I get these little snapshots of just how beautiful they look when they're in flight, and it just is wonderful.
My mentor, the great Tom Sony, has more amazing ideas for illusions than he can use, so he teaches them to other magicians, and he's agreed to share some with you.
This kid down here asked earlier about Lance Burton and wanted to see Lance Burton. Well, the guy that's going to come out is one of the guys that taught Lance Burton most of what he knows and also taught Penn and Teller everything they know. Ladies and gentlemen, the great Tom Sony and company!
He is a versatile and revered performer, famous for blending classical magic and a healthy dose of humor. With his wife, Pamela Hayes, playing his assistant Trixie, Johnny Thompson is the great Tom Sony.
Johnny Thompson is famous in magic for being an all-around magician. He can deceive you very badly sitting across a table with you with a deck of cards. He can stand up and perform a hilarious act with his wife, with doves, and every move of that act is perfect.
With almost 50 years in the business, many magicians, me included, consider Johnny the godfather of magic, and he graciously shares his secrets.
Okay, the camera was up. Huh? That's it.
My training is such that I've been called upon by other magicians. I work for Penn and Teller. They've always been called the bad boys of magic, but they're really the most fun to work with. I've worked for Siegfried and Roy and Lance Burton. And Lance has been kind of a protege of mine. I've worked with him since he's 19. And there are things that I dream of that I could never use or do, but I can certainly apply that to somebody else who could use it. When I go down the strip now and I see all these magic acts and with these wonderful exotic animals, I go back to when I first came here when there were 4 hotels on the strip. And magic was not so popular. If you were a magician in those early years, you were relegated to being an opening act.
On stage, Johnny plays a proud but bumbling vaudevillian nobleman. His sleight of hand is as flawless as the pure white doves that have always been his signature.
When you produce a dove, it's beautiful. They're very elegant, classy-looking animal, and they always arouse the crowd.
Legend has it the first bird trick was done in ancient Egypt with a goose. Today we think of the white dove and the white rabbit as the classic animals of magic. But the bunny has actually vanished from most acts in recent years. Animal lovers will be happy to learn why.
Rabbits are not animated. That's why in the 19th century magicians used to pull them out by their ears, which is really cruel. It's like you wouldn't want to be lifted by your ears, you know, but it made them kick, of course, because it was hurting them. That's why the rabbit from the hat has become an unpopular trick.
Unlike the 19th century version, the great Tom Sony and company are now working on a kinder, gentler version of the rabbit trick.
We are always working on new material. This happens to be one of our newest ones. It uses an invisible transparent top hat and a magic wand and a scarf. Watch carefully. Just a little wave of the wand like so, a tap, and voila, there's Maddie. Kind of a barking bunny in this case.
Johnny Thompson is one of the most innovative magicians in show business, but one of his best bits actually happened by accident.
The first time I worked, a comic friend of mine saw me work, and a bird actually defecated on my coat. He said, "That's so funny, you ought to find a way to do that." So I developed a way to do it for the bird, and also so it wouldn't ruin my tail.
Ah, the unexpected. Though the great Tom Sony has been doing animal magic for years, today it's enjoying a boom.
I think it's exciting for people to go see a Lance Burton or a Rick Thomas or Joseph Gabriel and see all these elegant animals and behaving like you would your own pets at home. Hi, baby.
And Johnny Thompson and his wife Pamela treat all their animal assistants as pets.
And these are our little children. Here, will you come with me, please? Come on.
The normal lifespan of a dove is in their natural habitat is 8 to 12 years. I have birds right now with me that are 20 years old. Most of them are between 15 and 20 years old.
As you can see, nobody's going anywhere. They're really happy. I did have a bird that retired from the act. She was the one that sat on the hat. And she was, I think, 23 when she just couldn't sit on the hat anymore.
What do the animals do when they retire? They fly to Florida. Nah, just kidding. The Thompsons give them a good home for life. But whether they're retired or still on the job, magicians always think first about their animals' safety.
My birds are well protected. I put them into, for want of a better word, a bag or a harness that completely encompasses them so that they can't get hurt.
Watch closely and see if you can figure out where the birds are hidden. But I'll warn you, Johnny is really good, so he makes it very hard to tell. By the way, those white doves are called Java doves. They're native to the South Sea island of Java. That's pretty exotic, but I'll tell you a secret. They're actually close cousins to the common pigeon, though not quite as smart. How hard is it to train a dove? Take the bird who sits on the head. Here's the secret reveal.
His back is to the audience, and at one point in the act I kind of looked down and realized it, and I pick up his tail and turn him around. And throughout the act he keeps turning back the other way, and it becomes a running gag. And people say, how did you train him to do that? Well, I just use logic. When he's on stage, there's nothing but light staring at him. So when I rehearse with him, I turn all the lights out and put a spotlight on him and put him away from the spotlight. So when I turn him around and he sees the light, he prefers to turn back the other way. It's just natural. And a lot of people say, how cleverly you trained that bird, but it's just, we use logic.
Of course, some people just have to know exactly how things work. One night, a man in the crowd challenged Johnny Thompson to show all. So he figured out a way to do it.
I'm going to give you a chance to have a magician's eye view, a backstage view from the front. How do I do it? With a wonderful invention of mine, an invisible, transparent handkerchief. Nothing on either side. I'll pull back my sleeves. This is a guaranteed 9.7 at the Magic Olympics with the sleeves pulled back. You know what you get from an invisible, transparent handkerchief? Invisible, transparent birds. There goes one now. I'll make the next one visible. Valentine, come out flying, boy. I think animal acts are probably the biggest single seller in magic today. If you look up and down the strip, almost every show has animals in it. So they became so very, very popular, it's made magic very popular.
Believe me when I say, most magicians working today owe some debt of thanks to my mentor, Johnny Thompson. One of the newer acts making a name in Vegas is Steve and Maria August. They combine animal magic with animal magnetism in a stage show that both slithers and sizzles.
Knowledge TV Retro, brought to you by Jones International University, the first fully online accredited university. Change your life for the better on your schedule. 8-week classes begin next month. Visit jiu.edu to find out more.
Steve and Maria August have only been performing in Vegas for a few years, but their eclectic brand of magic is already captivating audiences. Their act offers something for everyone, with illusions, juggling, and an animal extravaganza. Let's hope that snake doesn't develop a crush on Steve.
When we use our reptiles, or mostly the snakes, in any of our illusions, it's more of a shock factor. I don't think the audience is expecting it. They know we're magicians, they expect the birds, they expect cats. They never expect the snake, so when the snake appears, it really is a shock factor.
Unlike the crowds, Steve and Maria August have a warm, fuzzy feeling for all the creatures in their menagerie. Stingers, pinchers, points and all.
These animals are not tools to me. These animals are my pets. I take an animal on, it is a commitment for life, and that's the way it's got to be.
But these are not just ordinary pets. The August home in suburban Las Vegas has become a kind of halfway house for wayward animals.
There's just so many animals out there that are just unwanted. One way of helping them, well, of course, they earn their living. They work for me. They do their jobs. And as a result, they get the best care I can possibly give them.
A parrot named Rika is a typical resident of the August Animal Sanctuary. When Steve first got her, she'd had some bad experiences, and she was terrified of people.
So for 6 months to a year, I sat there. I couldn't get this bird to respond. And it's like I knew she loved sunflower seeds, so I would try to offer it to her. She would run. Months and months went by. She started coming closer. One day, I was sitting at my desk, and my desk was on that side of the room, and the bird cage was over there. And all of a sudden, I heard flutter, flutter of the wings, and she landed right on my shoulder. That was the bonding moment.
That's when Steve earned Rika's trust. And Rika, like all animals we use in our acts, have a lifetime of trust with us. We take care of them from the moment they're in our care. But the August reptiles and insects are even more likely to need their special brand of TLC than pets with fur or feathers.
We ended up with some of the creepy crawly animals by people that buy them and then they realize they can't really handle them. They're not, not as much fun as having a dog, a cat, or even a bird.
Right here, this is my biggest baby right now. She weighs a little bit over 100 pounds. She is a Burmese python. And as you can see, this guy is just a tremendous animal to have to carry.
Pythons are relatively harmless, unless you're a small mammal. And since the Augusts also keep small mammals, they make sure to house the predators well away from their potential dinner.
So now we go into the next snake. You'll notice how he's curled up in a ball? That's what he likes to do. They're ball pythons. When they're afraid, they curl up into a little ball. There's his little head peeking out. You can see just a little bit of the shed on the top of his head. He just shed 2 days ago. When the animals do shed, I don't use them in shows. It's a very uncomfortable time for them, so I just like to leave them alone.
Not all the August animals perform in the illusions. Maria uses some of them only for educational shows at schools and parties. Others are awaiting adoption as pets. And they'll do anything to get your attention.
This is Tribble. He's a chinchilla. This is normally an animal from South America. This is another animal we took in that was very sick and unwanted. He wound up at the vet's office, and our veterinarian called us and said, I have a chinchilla here, and they don't want to pay the bill, and he's really sick, so we paid the bill, took him in. He's healthy now. They should have a dust bath at least every other day. We do it every day. And now he's all sugar frosted looking. This is the African pygmy hedgehog, and you can see he's handleable even though he's spiky. If you handle them often, they won't roll up in a ball like that. This is Rocky. He's a black emperor scorpion. Normally they're from Madagascar, and he's just here in our home. He's one of the babies we had. We picked up a scorpion. Somebody bought one for their child, and the child got snapped at, and they really didn't want him anymore. I'm working on one new illusion right now, which is really an interesting experience. It involves 2 scorpions, and scorpions don't have emotions or can't be trained, so it's very, very difficult. It's going to be a handcuff escape, and I'm going to have my wrists handcuffed and a scorpion in each hand. And that's just to prove that I don't have a key hidden anywhere, I can't grab a key, get out of the locks, and I'm going to escape from the handcuffs. No, don't let him up by my finger like that.
Back up, dude. Back up, dude.
Even though these scorpions aren't poisonous, their sting really smarts.
That scorpion is a little bit bigger than that scorpion,
right.
So trying to protect them so they don't fall onto the ground, I'm having a hard time cupping them so that I don't hurt them. I don't want to smush them. And I don't want to get stung, so...
So we're going to need smaller scorpions if we're going to achieve this trick.
I think I'll have the scorpion thing down in another month if I just keep rehearsing it. It should be good.
Or the other side of that is you could spend a month working on it and it'll go nowhere and it's just wasted time.
That happens too a lot.
That's part of performing though.
Another problem is that the animals aren't always ready for showtime. For instance, The snakes get 4 days off after they eat because they take that long to digest their food. So like many magicians, the Augusts use understudies.
If we notice right away that they're upset when we take them out of the cages, we just leave them alone and take a different one, which is why we do keep so many snakes on hand. We'll just go on to the next snake.
I've tried to combine the magic and juggling. It's two different arts, two totally separate disciplines, but by combining them both, it's kind of given me a little bit of edge to my show. I do a stunt in my show, which has had me on David Letterman, it's had me on The Most Awesome Acts on Earth. I've traveled the world doing this one stunt. And it's a trick where you balance a burning barbecue grill on your face.
Don't forget, Steve is a trained professional. Don't try this at home, or anywhere else for that matter.
And when I was performing it, another magician came up with an idea of you should make an animal appear out of it. And I thought, well, all right, what animal would be cool? Everybody's doing birds, everybody's doing this. And so came up with the idea of my pet snake. So we put the pet snake in there, and it was just, that's what it needed. It needed a good ending, because a trick has to have a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Every day, every performance, every illusion holds its own surprises for magicians who work with animals. We have to expect the unexpected and keep working to understand these creatures that can't talk and don't always want to listen.
I think one big secret to animal magic that people maybe don't realize you have to have, and that's patience. These animals are our pets, and they need a lot of patience to be trained, because we deal mostly with reptiles and some of the creepy crawlies.
Everybody says the unwanted ones are, difficult to work with. Even though they were unwanted, I got them to turn around, and they are happy, loving, wonderful pets. They're great performing animals, and they're doing a wonderful job now. They're entertaining thousands of people. Even the most unwanted animal with a lot of loving attention and the proper care can come around.
Scorpions and snakes may be scary, but what happens when your assistant is a 500-pound Bengal tiger? Rick Thomas knows the secret to making that work. For 12 years, Rick Thomas has been taming the wildest crowds in Vegas with his magnificent Bengal tigers.
How you doing? Come on, boy. You want to go work?
Part Tarzan, part Dr. Dolittle. Rick's 6'5" frame towers over most people, but he's a perfect fit for his magnificent 500-pound cats.
Tigers are almost identical to the house cat's attitude and personality. However, it's just 100 times magnified. So if a house cat paws at you, he'll knock you out.
Rick's act is the most successful daytime show in Las Vegas history. So what are the secrets that let Rick Thomas rule these fantastic and fearsome felines?
I love animals. I mean, you have to love them. There's a lot of entertainers out there who want a tiger because it looks cool on stage. That is the wrong reason to have these animals. When you get a tiger for life. Our day with the tigers is beyond the few moments that the audience actually sees them on the stage.
At home, in Thomas's 3,500 square foot tiger habitat, the day starts with cage cleaning and feeding. What do tigers eat? Whatever they want to, buddy.
Actually, they're going to be fed just chickens that you get right off of the grocer's shelf. Don't cook them, just raw. In fact, if you cook it, they won't get near it. They don't eat vegetables, no fruit, just, they're a meat eater, yeah. As we come in close to the cat and you feel the strength of their voice and their protection over their food, you'll understand that we don't like them to get possessive. What you got there, huh? What you got there, huh? Let me go on the other side around there. That's the same with Kira. If we get close to her, she can get very aggressive.
Rick feeds the cats before they go on stage because they're a little calmer when they're full. Both on stage and in the habitat, Rick works closely with his assistant, Eric. They both know each cat's quirks, and they know that the tigers are food motivated. So they feed beef cubes as rewards when they're teaching a new trick.
We are working on a new illusion. In fact, what I'm working on right now in the habitat, it's called the Incredible Shrinking Tiger. The cats actually have to walk from a cage through a small area that we're blocking off on stage, and they have to do it all by themselves. So we've got this tube, and we're right now training the tigers to walk through this thing by themselves. You're actually catching us on our first day. We have no idea what's going to happen.
Eric's cane is used to gently guide the cats from one place to another.
My boy, relax. Come on, come here. What is it? That's my boy. Come on, go in here. Go in there. Comfortable? Good. Go, 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 go. Good boy, Samson. Come on back through. Come on, Samson. Samson. The key is right now, obviously we're finding it not too difficult to get him through the tube, but now we have to work on, it might take a month or so to get him to walk through the tube when we want him to walk through the tube. Now he doesn't want to get out. Well, at least we know we can get him in the tube. I think that there is a secret to the training of the animals. How we get the animals to do what they do in the show, to appear when they're supposed to appear. That in itself is an art form.
Rick Thomas has to talk to his animals in a language that they understand, even when they aren't especially in the mood to listen.
Hey, Samson. Samson, there are people out here. This way. Oh, is that Samson? Oh, wait, you know what? I need his chain, Eric. At times, am I frightened working with them? I wouldn't say frightened. I'm just heightened awareness. There are times when these tigers growl at you, and when they growl, the growl goes from your head right down to your toes, and you have nightmares for weeks. Come on, Samson. Good boy. We start the tigers training from birth, actually about 8 weeks to 10 weeks. Each of our cats, as they grow up, we come up with ideas for that particular cat. One cat maybe lays down really well. One cat maybe jumps up. One cat runs across the stage better than all the other tigers. And once you understand what that cat does, you design an effect or an illusion around that particular animal. Tigers live up to 20 years, and we have one tiger, his name's Zeus. He worked for 6 years straight, 2 shows a night, 6 days a week, never missed a show. And now it's Samson's turn. Now it's Samson's turn. I know. I know.
Rick's cats work hard, but they actually have it relatively easy compared to some of their wild cousins. Tigers are losing a lot of ground to land development and poaching.
Hey, Kira. Kira, how you doing, sweetheart? This is Samson's sister, Kira. They're born at the same time 6 years ago. The white tiger is extremely endangered.
And Bengal tigers now live only in India and its neighboring countries. But all of these nations have set up programs to protect them.
It's really sad when you start talking about the tiger, because it is almost an extinct animal, extremely endangered. There are about 2,000 tigers left in India, and they say within the next 5 to 10 years there won't be any tigers left at all. The price on the head of these tigers is huge, and the sad part is they're worth more dead than alive.
You could say Rick Thomas spreads the word about keeping the world safe for tigers one audience at a time. 6 days a week, he carts his cats off to work at 12:30 sharp. Of course, there's nothing ordinary about their commute. Starting with the wheels, they travel in a 22-foot trailer nicknamed the Cadillac. Only on the rare occasion that a cat is having a bad day will Rick scratch it from his act.
Just like with humans, sometimes tigers get up on the wrong side of the bed. They get up on the wrong side of the den box. Sometimes they don't want to do their show, and they don't do it.
To Rick, the secret to his success with any illusion is, quite simply, the animals.
The secrets behind it, you know what it is? I think it's with any other animals that you work with at all. It's love. It's love for the animal, caring for the animal, wanting to respect the animal, respect it for what it is. And that's why I introduce them to the audience, and I tell them the names of the tigers and who they are, because they're a being just like we are. And I just think it's love. I think if the audience realizes that I love these cats and I care about them, and when they're on stage, they get to enjoy them as much as I do. That's the secret revealed.
In a moment, you'll get a chance to see 2 Bengal tigers appear right before your eyes. Okay, this illusion was shot with just one camera pointed at the stage, and no editing has taken place. Let's see if Jim can give us some insight.
The performer is conditioning you, giving you certain impressions about the apparatus and about the tigers and about the way the equipment is handled on stage and about the scenery. And that's all washing over you. You're treating that as the get ready for the illusion. But actually that's part of the illusion as well. And all of those steps bringing you up to that is part of the psychology. So when you watch the illusion, the enlightened way to watch it is to watch the entire process.
That ticks me off. So I gotta show them to you twice. Is that okay with all of you? Yeah. Let's do it.
You know, Rick Thomas is a nut. Those tigers are big. Now you know why I work with birds. It's been said that magic is all about smoke and mirrors. Okay, now that part's true. We magicians, we use misdirection, conditioning. We use other principles of magic to convince you that what you learned in physics and psychology class isn't always true. But for animal magic, we also have to have a couple of other tricks up our sleeve. We need an unending supply of patience, understanding, and creativity. Now, after all, we not only have to figure out how to get the tiger to do that trick, but then we have to teach the tiger to do it. Well, for me, the rewards are endless. From the breakthrough moment when the trick works for the very first time to the fun times I can spend with my animals backstage. And of course, for all of us up here on stage, there's nothing more rewarding than entertaining and amazing you, especially with our animal magic. I'm Lance Burton. Thanks for watching. Animal magicians have come a long way from the days of old. Let's review what you might have seen, 100 years ago. Hello.
I'm the other half of the great Tom Sony and Company. I'm the one who does the work, by the way.
There are 100 white tigers in the entire world. 2 of them are mine. And the rest are Siegfried and Roy.
Elephants harmed. Number 2, this camera does not cut away.
It didn't use trick photography. It was done with all of the principles that a magician uses on stage.
Now here's something the elephants will never forget. When you're using an animal, what you have to do is you have to design the illusion around the animal. You have to build the illusion around the animal, because that's the one element in the trick that is not going to change. Of course, I have to say, my life has changed a lot over the last few years, and things have changed for my animals too. When I started my career, I would do a show and then take the birds home with me every night. But now that we're in a permanent facility, the animals all stay here at work, here at the theater, except of course for Monty, who, well, you know, he's not in the show, he's just my pal. But a game I play with Monty, and you probably play with your own dog, is a good way to show one principle of magic: misdirection. I'm going to try and show you a little bit how magic works. Now, of course, Monty's attention right now is on this ball. Ready, Monty? Go get the ball. Go get it. And what we do is we set up a pattern with Monty with the ball. Today, there are no limits as to what animals may show up in an illusion, as you will see. But before we go any further, my buddy Jim will pull some principles of magic out of his hat. In other words, the tricks behind the tricks.
There are optical principles in which something looks like something it isn't. There are mechanical principles which might involve a device or a trap door or a secret compartment. And then there are psychological principles, and in everything that magicians do, there's a psychology going on.
Psychology, physics, but it's a lot more fun to call it magic. And for me, it all starts here. This is where I work. I do 2 shows a night, 5 days a week, at the Lance Burton Theater here at the Monte Carlo Hotel in Las Vegas. I appear, disappear.
Up here, folks, on the chandelier!
And reappear. You get the picture. But I'm not the only one who disappears. Check this out.
This is what's going to happen. I'm going to send you back in time 2 weeks.
What you have to watch when you watch magic is the strength of the performer and how he's able to make you complicit in the deception.
You were back home in Kentucky.
This one really raises animal magic to a new level.
It's working. I set the controls for 2 weeks. Extend the antenna. Aim it up at the box. Keep your fingers crossed, folks. I have to get Stinky off my sofa. Here we go.
Magic with animals has always been popular with audiences. I guess because it's not a magic prop, not a static prop. They're alive.
Oh, I've made a terrible mistake. I set the controls wrong. I didn't send them back in time 2 weeks. I sent them back in time 2 minutes, which means...
Uncle Lance over here!
Kids!
And people have an affinity for animals. I mean, people love animals. Children love to see animals. When you're doing magic with something alive, it makes the magic so much more exciting. When I started working with animals, I was 14 years old, and I got 2 doves. Now it's completely out of control. I've worked with a horse. I've worked with a herd of elephants. Jim said, okay, how's this for a trick? We're going to make a herd of elephants disappear. And all of a sudden, I'm like, yeah, that's great idea. Let's do it. And then all of a sudden, I go, wait a minute, a herd of elephants, that's going to be really hard. There are 2 things to keep in mind. Number 1, in no way are the elephants. Welcome to the secrets of animal magic. I'm Lance Burton, and we're going to take a journey through the world of animal magic. So watch closely, and we'll let you in on some of the secrets in our bag of tricks. And there are a lot of them. We'll go behind the scenes and open the door to tricks, to training, to the principles behind the magic, and to the talented magicians and their animals who make it all come alive. Along the way, you'll meet Joseph Gabriel and his talented parrots, the great Tom Sony, a personal hero of mine and a master of dove work, Steve and Maria August, who never met a reptile they didn't like, and Rick Thomas, the man who tames tigers. Of course, you'll see me work too, and you'll get to meet my special guest, Jim Steinmeier, one of the best-kept secrets in magic. Jim literally designs the illusions that magicians like me use on stage. Together, we're going to share as much as we can without jeopardizing the magician's code. Hey, look, I don't want to get into trouble, but I'll try to take you right up to that line and help you unravel more of the secrets of animal magic for yourself.
Knowledge TV Retro, brought to you by Jones International University, the first fully online accredited university. Change your life for the better on your schedule. 8-week classes begin next month. Visit jiu.edu to find out more.
Like most people, you probably watch magic shows from down here. But today, we're going to go on stage and behind the curtain into the secret world of animal magic. Animal magicians have come a long way from the days of old. Let's review what you may have seen, 100 years ago. The magician walks out on stage, and in his hand, he's carrying a top hat and a magic wand. He takes the wand, he makes a few magical passes over the hat. He may have even said a couple of magic words like abracadabra or Hocus pocus. And voila, a live rabbit pops out of the hat.